Welcome back to another Stacked Decks here on ZaekMTG. Today I'm going to be showing you guys a pretty interesting deck that wins a lot of games, even in the ranked series right now, just by casting instants and sorceries for the most part. We do have one artifact in here that is an important build piece, but I'll explain that in a second. But we have no creatures whatsoever. I'll show you if I do the TCR here. Not a single creature in the whole deck. Nothing is separated because we have no creatures in this deck whatsoever. So let me explain what we're doing here, because this is a pretty interesting build. The big part of this is that you want to draw a lot of cards. So we have a few different ways to do that. We've got Sleight of Hand. This is an interesting Japanese reprint of this card. Sleight of Hand to draw some cards lets us look at the top two cards of our library and put one of them into our hand and the other on the bottom of our library. For only one blue mana too, which is nice. You can do that when you have cast a couple other spells during the turn. Consult the Star Charts is the only thing we actually have 4 copies of other than our main combo piece, which allows us to look at the top X cards of our library, where X is the number of lands we control, put one of those cards into our hand, and if we kick the spell with an extra 2 mana, we can put 2 of those cards into our hand instead. So it lets us dig really far later in the game when you have a lot of lands. Basically works like Sleight of Hand, though. It just can be a lot more powerful in the long run. We've also got Stock Up, which gives us another way to look deep into our deck, look at the top 5 cards of your library, put 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This has become a staple in a lot of blue decks, but it is very good here because it lets us dig for our main combo piece, which is Resonating Loot. Resonating Loot says it's an artifact that costs 2, a blue and a red, and it says lands you control have tap to add 2 mana of any one color. Spend this mana only to cast instant and sorcery spells, and luckily that's pretty much all we have in here. You can also tap it to draw a card, but only if you have 7 or more cards in your hand, and we actually do get to use that mode in this deck quite a bit as well, so that's fun. Another way that we can draw cards is with our Splatter technique, which kind of has a dual purpose in the deck, both as a board wipe, where it can deal 4 damage to each creature and planeswalker that our opponent has, because it won't do anything to the creatures that we don't have. And then also you can draw 4 cards if you don't have any creatures that you want to kill with it. We only have a couple copies of it, but it can be a nice mid-game way to fill up your hand or to clear the board to keep yourself alive. Jeskai Revelation is also a big combo piece in here, very important. It does a few different things, but mainly it can counter a spell. When somebody's trying to cast a spell, you can cast this to counter it, and also deals 4 damage to any target, and also creates 2 1/1 white monk creature tokens with prowess for you, lets you draw 2 cards, and you gain 4 life. So there's a lot going on with this spell, but it's very powerful and very easy to cast once we get the Resonating Loot out. Other than that, we have a few different things that help us stay alive, which is Syncopate, allows us to counter a spell and force the player that's casting that spell to pay X, which you can use any amount of mana to put into X, so that's nice. Counter a lot of big spells with that. And another bonus is that it exiles the spell instead of putting it in their graveyard, so if they're running like a mill deck, or if they have a lot of flashback spells, you can use this to stop them from flashing back the spell that you counter. Same deal basically with No More Lies. It just has a solid 3 that they have to pay each time that you counter it, but it also puts spells into their graveyard. It does cost a white and a blue, so it's a little more expensive, but Split Up lets us remove enemies' creatures very quickly, can destroy all the tapped creatures or all the untapped creatures. That's a little cheaper than a lot of board wipes, so it's nice to have in here. Day of Judgment is just a straight up board wipe. Out of Air will allow us to counter any spell for 2 and 2 blue, so 4 in total, or it costs 2 less to cast if you're targeting a creature spell. There's another one in the Strixhaven set that came out recently that does the opposite. It counters an instant or sorcery for cheaper, but I felt like this was a little more powerful in keeping the opponent's creatures off the board and can still be used on instants and sorceries if you have enough mana, so pretty useful. We already talked about Splatter technique, but I'll tell you about Wisdom of Ages, which is a very big bomb from Strixhaven that returns all instant and sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand, and you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. So you basically cast a bunch of spells. As long as your graveyard doesn't get, graveyard hate from an opponent, then you get to return all those spells to your hand. And then a lot of people will just quit the game at that point because you have this hand of like 20 or 30 cards and a tons of spells to play with. Plus, obviously, you spent 7 mana on this spell, so you've got tons of mana to spend as well. Our other win condition besides Wisdom of Ages, or, you know, winning with Jeskai Revelation counters, is Mathemagics, which is a really fun spell from Strixhaven that allows us to, obviously we can make ourselves draw cards, but it doesn't say you draw cards, it says target player. So what we do with this is once we have 12, or actually I guess it would be 14 mana to play with, which is pretty easy to get to with Resonating Loot. You actually only need 7 lands on the board. You can cast this for 6, x equals 6, and it does 2 to the x cards that the opponent has to draw. They draw their entire deck and they lose because they can't draw any more cards after that. So this has been a really fun way to end games. Between that and Wisdom of Ages, we've got some fun little game enders here. So the land base is pretty standard because it's a 3-color deck with red, white, and blue. We run as many dual lands as we can get, so we've got a lot of ones that are shock lands that allow us to pay 2 life to have them enter untapped. We've got lands that enter untapped but only give us 1 color of mana unless we control a plains or an island. But luckily a lot of the shock lands are both a plains and an island, or, you know, both a island and a mountain with steam vents, or both a mountain and plains with the Sacred Foundry. So pretty much all colored lands. We do have as a, you know, alternate basic land for our blue, which is probably what we're going to want to be playing most of the time, is the blue lands, because we have a lot of heavy important early blue spells here. Agna Kella, I could be saying that wrong, but this land will enter tapped unless we control a basic land that lets us add blue by tapping it, or we can pay 3, 2 and a blue, to draw a card and then discard a card. So that lets us kind of filter through our deck a little bit. The only other land that we're running is a new one from Strixhaven called Great Hall of the Biblioplex. You can pay 1 life to add 1 mana of any color. You can tap it normally to add just colorless. And if you do the pay 1 life mode, you do have to spend that mana on an instant or sorcery spell. Works great with what we have going on here. And worst case, you can actually turn this land into a creature for 5, and it becomes a 2/4 wizard creature with, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It's still a land, so it's a little hard to target with stuff that says non-land permanent or whatever. But yeah, that's going to be basically what we have going on with this. Let me dive into some games and we'll show you how crazy this deck can get. Here we are in our first game with a hand that it looks like we can keep. It's a little dangerous because we don't have any cheap draw spells, but the stock up can at least get us there, and we only need 1 more land to cast it. So I'm going to keep this one. We'll see how it goes. Worst case, we get mana starved and then have a hard time, but we do draw a Destroy All spell, a board wipe as our first spell. That was not what we were hoping to draw. We were kind of looking for our second land on that first draw, but we'll play, I'm actually going to play this, the Hollowed Fountain. Let it enter tapped because we can't do anything with it on this first turn. You're never going to cast Syncopate for 1, because if you do, they can basically pay 0 to not have their spell countered. On our turn 2 though, we did draw a land, which is perfect for us. We will just go ahead and play our tap land and pay the 2 life, and that way we can counter their 2-drop or potentially 3-drop on this next turn. So a lot of counterplay in this deck. You're going to be basically countering as many of your opponent's spells as you can. That I might just counter because I have a feeling they're trying to dig for lands. But honestly, I'm not that worried about them digging. I'm more worried about what they're digging for. So we'll let them have it. Let them consult those star charts. They might actually be running the same deck as we are too, which would be really funny. Very possible. And usually in a matchup between 2 of the same deck, this deck will lose to the other one that got to like play first. So if they're on the play and not on the draw, they may win this, which they were. So we're going to go ahead and try to stock up here. I think they have a counter spell in their hand they're waiting to use. But they may have the same thought as me, where it doesn't really make sense to, yeah, so they've got the No More Lies, which makes me think they're running this same deck. That's okay though. Like I said, we are not hurting that bad here, as long as we just keep doing our thing. Playing lands, waiting for the loot. Really, we just want to get that loot and then start countering everything that they play. They play another tap land, they pass. We're going to pass through this turn. Depending on what they do on their next turn, we can consult the star charts to try and dig for our card. This is definitely just a race to see who gets the loot first, though. That's what it's looking like. I am going to cast this for 4, because if they don't counter it, we get 2 cards. I have a feeling they're going to counter it again, though. There's the counter. Even if I had not paid the extra 2, they would have countered it for me having to pay 3 there. So this time, I'm just going to wait again. I could try and cast this now, but they have so much mana up right now. They have 4 mana to play with. They could literally have 2 counter spells in their hand, and they would just outplay me with whatever I have. So we just continue waiting and hoping we get another land. Try and cast this one more time. Same thing. We're going to cast it for 4. He's going to counter it again. He's trying to decide if he should continue wasting counters on my draw spells. I don't think he should, but he does. He thinks he should. Your go. There's another counter spell. That one was one that I'd considered putting in here. 3 Step Ahead is a really great counter spell and gives you some good utility with the spree, but I didn't really feel like I needed it with how this deck's been performing with what I have. So I can turn the Biblioplex into a creature and start swinging in on this next turn to pressure them. So we'll end our turn, look to maybe counter one of their spells. They want to pass their turn again. I'm going to turn this into a creature. There's our loot. They are just going to counter it. This man is sitting on an entire hand of counter spells, I can tell. I'm just going to go ahead and swing. We'll see what he decides to do. This may just be a battle of attrition. Doesn't have a play, apparently. He's going to stock up. I could counter that. But I would have to counter it with one of my bid counters. That's fine, though. Let's see what happens. I think he probably lets it counter. I don't think he's going to try and counter my counter spell. Unless he really wants to continue the stock up, but... Now he's going to leave his mana up. Get ready to counter one of my things. I'm going to continue just swinging in. I want to force him to start to feel, you know, uncomfortable. So he's going to destroy my creature. I can counter that, and I think I will. The thing is, though, if I counter that, then all my mana is basically gone, but that's fine. I don't want him to destroy my lands, so I am not going to let him get rid of my stuff. Now he's going to play his Resonating Loot because he knows that my lands are not usable. There it is. So now things become pretty dangerous for us. He still has the ability to counter this one, but I'm going to have to try and play it. He has a counter spell. Yep. This man is heavy on the counters. I think he can actually just win the game here. But he really wants that land to die, so... Look, I got another one. Basically, he can just win because he's got 7 mana available, which means 14 mana for instants and sorceries. But he doesn't have a win condition card right now, apparently. We'll do this again. See what he decides to do. Because worst case, we can dig for lands or for our other loots by using these map tokens on our Biblioplex. We will go ahead and do that. We would like to put some more lands on the board instead of having these freaking 5-land problems. We also get a 4/6 if we keep not drawing lands. There's our loot. He knows that we have it now, but that's fine. Now we attack. he's going to destroy it again, or he's going to return target spell. He's got all the mana in the world to pay this counter cost. I think I just let that go. Now he's going to start to do some big stuff here. I can play my land again, which is nice. And then I can actually destroy his untapped creatures, which we will do if he'll let us. Probably has another counter spell in his hand, I would assume. Does not want to counter that though. Interesting. Now we've got quite a few sorceries and instants in our graveyard. He has another stock up. He's got multiple different skins of the stock up in his deck. That's kind of funny. I feel like the newest skin from Strixhaven is the best looking stock up there is, but he's going to counter this again. Counter target spell. Oh, return target spell. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, basically, whoever gets the loot on the board first in this matchup wins. The way that we could counter that is putting a destroy target artifact spell into our deck, but I mean, it really just comes down to like whoever has the earlier play kind of wins this matchup, so GG's. Here we are in game 2. We've got a pretty good looking hand. We have the consult the star charts right off the bat, and we have more than enough lands to deal with what we need, so let's go ahead and keep it. Let's see where this goes. Hopefully we don't get another player that's playing this deck, but it's been pretty popular because it has a lot of, you know, counter potential, and there's not a lot of decks that actually counter it, so put that under tap. A forest. All right, so our opponent's probably playing a landfall deck is what it looks like, which this usually wins against. Usually. But I need to play a little bit fast because he will overpower me pretty quickly. That being said, I have the destroy all in my hand twice too. I have this one that will also remove enemy creatures, so he's going to attack with a 1-2. Oh, he's not going to attack. That's an interesting choice. We'll take a no more lies there. Counter whatever his next spell is. We'll play this so that we don't have to pay 2 life for now. And we can get white mana out of either of these and blue mana out of 2 of them, so we can do a sleight of hand here. Another Day of Judgment or another counter spell. I mean, I feel like I don't need the counter spells. I just need ways to remove their creatures to keep myself in the game longer, so we will take more of those for now. We will counter that Earthbender Ascension. He swings in for 2. We will let this enter tapped because currently we're just going to destroy his creature. We're going to do about 3 turns of just wrecking his creatures over and over again. Pretty much nothing in the landfall deck will have haste, so we should be looking good. Badger Molkhead, that makes sense. He's going to hit the Fabled Passage with it so that he can sacrifice it twice. That's an interesting choice. I'm just going to destroy all, which will get his Fabled Passage back, but he also doesn't get to crack it then, so. Probably has another Badger Molkhead. Nope, the Earthbender Ascension, okay. Swings in for 2. I think at this point I need to play the Resonating Loot so I can start having Splatter Technique available to me. We'll play our loot. This is where things start to get pretty crazy because now each of these counts for 2 mana, which means we can cast Splatter Technique and Split Up in the same turn and draw 4 cards, but also destroy all of his creatures. Pretty dope. Interesting to put the Earthbend on the Fabled Passage. He's very much wanting to just swing in with his Earthbent lands, which is not going to win him this matchup, so. Swings in again. We'll play another land. We will draw 4 cards. Yes, we'll draw 4 cards. So we got a Jeskai Revelation, which means we can do some interesting stuff on our next turn. Before we play one of our 7 spells here, we're going to actually draw a card. Drawing a card is free with the loot as long as you have 7 cards in your hand. We get another loot, which wasn't really what we were looking for, but I'm going to destroy the tapped land so that he can't keep powering it up more. And most of the time he's got hexproof spells, but not indestructible spells, which keeps us looking a little better. Do we have a floating mana right now? I don't think we do. We can tap this to add 2 to consult the star charts on our end of our opponent's turn, so we'll go ahead and do that. We had a floating mana from casting Splatter Technique because it costs 5. So I think that's how we were able to cast Split Up for only 1 land. A Might Form Harmonizer. Pretty powerful in the right setup. Opponent's going to crack the Fabled Passage. And then they're going to double the power of their Badger Maul. And also put a +1/+1 counter on it. So it's going to hit us for 6. But that's not going to be enough to win them the game. We'll let that pass. So now, before the end of their turn, we're going to consult the star charts. Start digging for more stiff. We probably want another Split Up here. We only get 1. We have plenty of lands. We could also take another stock up, but I have one in my hands, so we'll just go ahead and do this. Now here's where things get a little bit interesting. We will play our land. And we'll actually pass the turn here. Because what we want to do is we want to Jeskai Revelation at the right time to completely cancel whatever they try to do on their next turn. So that's what we're going to do. And we can counter stuff that they play too. We can do both of those in just the 1 turn, so let's see how that goes. Also, before we do anything, we can draw a card with our Resonating Loot because we currently have 7 cards in our hand. So we can dig even deeper for the fun stuff, but we have our win condition right here. We can literally win on the next turn as long as we don't die. The reactiveness of this deck is really fun. So now he's going to swing in. And we... Oh, he's got hexproof, doesn't he? I'm going to try and return this to hand. If we can return this and deal 4 damage to this, do we survive is the question. Let's see. Pretty sure he's got a hexproof for this Badger Maul Cub. But we're going to gain 4 life too, so either way we have enough blockers. He's looking to double its power again. Oh, I see what he's doing. So he's actually going to make this more powerful. I should have returned this. So now it's got 5 HP and it actually survives and we die. That's crazy. That was a smart move. Just cracking that to get another land so that Earthbender Ascension put 1 more +1/+1 counter on that. It's crazy. I'm gonna draw a card real quick. Let's just a land. That doesn't save us. I'm gonna counter this spell. There's nothing we can do here. We end up losing this because I played incorrectly. And that'll be the game. That trample really hurts right there. GG. We definitely could have won that one. I played that incorrectly. I should have returned the Badgermole Cub, but I figured he would just hexproof it, so. Here we are in game 3 with a hand that we can keep. It's a little risky, but we've got 2 ways to dig into our deck, so we will at least draw 1 more land, and then we can hopefully cast our split up if we need it. Let's see if I can actually show you guys how this deck is supposed to work instead of making a ton more mistakes. I am going to play the Agna first because this is going to come in tapped no matter what I do because I don't have a basic land. And then we can play the Hallowed Fountain if we want and pay 2 life to keep it untapped, or we can just play Flood Farm Verge and have a blue and a white. Our opponent has the Lessons deck, which is a little concerning because it's pretty aggressive. But luckily there's not a whole lot that they can do by attacking our creatures, so I'll play our Flood Farm Verge and we will pass the turn. The early game of this deck is a lot of just kind of reactive play to what our opponent's doing. Normally we would hope to have one of our 2-cost counters in our hand, but for now we just let them keep slapping us with Gran. See what he does here. He might have a counter spell, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but I want him to cast something first before I cast my stuff so that he can't counter it. Yep, there it is. So I'm going to cast this now. We're going to take a sleight of hand because we already have a Jeskai Revelation. We're going to play our Hallowed Fountain for the 2 life and stock up. He counters that. That makes sense. People really don't like that spell. They like to counter it, which I totally get because you get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and take the best 2 for your situation. So pretty powerful deck filtering, library filtering. So now he's got the bonus of having Gran give him extra like a reduced cost on his non-creature spells because he's got more than 3 lesson cards in the graveyard, which is a little concerning for us because he's just going to keep playing off this Monument to Endurance. I need to dig for lands, but I also want to destroy that so that he has to pay more mana. So we're hoping he doesn't have a counter spell right now. Please don't. He does. Jeez. Instantly creates a token of the Monument to Endurance, which lets him discard a card. He's actually doing that without countering our spell though, so that's good. Gran is going to die. And he didn't discard a card there, which is interesting. He has another Gran, that makes sense. Accumulate Wisdom lets him draw 2 cards for 1 mana, or draw 3 cards, sorry, for 1 mana. Now he gets to draw 2 extra cards with his monuments. Probably plays a land and then plays another spell. Or a Springleaf Drum, which you can actually play for free right now. That's been an interesting play that I've seen people doing. I didn't even see him play another Monument to Endurance. Am I crazy? The ramp on this deck is insane. He's going to start pinging me for 3 life every turn. This is wild. All right, you've done enough drawing of cards now. Let me play my 4th land. There it is. I'm not even gonna pay 2 life here because I don't really need it for anything. I'm just gonna play a sleight of hand. He might counter that. We'll get another River Pyre Verge. As yet another land. And then we're gonna wait to consult the star charts until later in case we need to counter their spell with a syncopate. Either way though, he's got 8 mana. No, 7 mana. I'm counting that incorrectly. With the 2 treasure tokens. 8 mana if you include the Springleaf Drum. So I'm basically looking pretty rough here with my 4 lands. He's going to tap it at the end of his turn to get another ping on me with a Monument to Endurance. That's the thing that makes this really powerful in this deck too. You can tap Gran and then draw a card and discard a card using the Springleaf Drum. So that's a pretty good move for them. Actually lose. He just pings me for 3 life twice. The GG. If nothing else, I am showcasing how powerful the decks in ranked are right now. Not my own, apparently, but here we are in game 4. We've had a rough run of it so far, but I think this is a hand that might actually do some things for us, so we're gonna keep it. Play our Agnikella first because it comes in tapped. We also wouldn't be able to use blue mana off of this right away because we don't have an island or a mountain, so we wouldn't have gained anything by playing that first. Our opponent plays a sleight of hand right off the bat, and it's also running red and blue, which is a little concerning because we're going to be looking at the same matchup we had before, basically. I'm considering just sitting on this mana and countering their stuff. I think that's the play. I don't really want to dig in my deck when they're about to be casting some really good spells. They play a Slick Shot Show Off, which I can still counter. It's just a sorcery. So I will dig on this end of their turn. We get a stock up here. I think that's the move so that we can dig deeper. We get 2 stock ups. All right, we need to play a sleight of hand to try and dig for a land. We didn't get one. That's great. We are just looking so good right now. We can't even counter their Slick Shot Show Off now because we didn't get a second land. This is rough. We have had a rough go of it here. And Slick Shot Show Off now can hit us for a lot in the face over and over again. Plus it gets the bonuses, the +2/+0, just for them casting non-creature spells. Not even for them, you know, resolving. So countering them does nothing for us. And now I'm actually upset that I didn't take the Destroy All spell, because that would have maybe saved us. I have to stock up here, but I think I die next turn. A Day of Judgment could do some things for us, but we still don't have the lands that we need for it. We're just looking at trying to survive. This is basically a GG right here. He plays 2 big non-creature spells, and these things hit me for 5 each in the face. Wow, Storm Chaser's talent. That's interesting. If we draw a white land of any kind, we can survive 1 more turn, maybe. We did not. That's going to be GG. All right. That one didn't really count, I'll be honest, because we didn't get any lands. And the lands that we did get didn't help us at all, so. Here we are in game 5. This is looking like a hand that we can keep. We just need to be careful about our mana base. But it will work for what we've got going on so far, so. The only thing is that we can't sleight of hand on turn 1 again, which is a little unfortunate, but we'll keep it. We'll see what happens. We've already had some pretty bad luck. It's got to turn around at some point, right? We'll let the center tapped, because we can't do anything with it on our first turn, but we need it to be here so that we have a plains for Flood Farm Verge. As long as we have a plains, we can use Flood Farm Verge for blue, so. They play a Moon Shadow. Interesting second turn play. Now I have 2 options. I can sleight of hand right now, or I can wait and try and counter their next spell, which actually I think is going to be the play. Depending on what they're playing next, if I can counter it, Moonshadow also won't get bigger on this next turn, which might be important. There you go. That's going to be it. We're going to counter that right away. He swings in for one. We're going to play another land here. And since we can't actually play our out of air, I'm going to stock up right away. We're going to pull a Great Hall and the Resonating Loot. I should pull the Day of Judgment, but getting Resonating Loot out on our next turn will allow it to actually start doing the big stuff. So they play the Umbral Caller Zealot. They play a land. Sacrificing their land powers up their Moonshadow because a permanent entered their graveyard from anywhere. They swing in for 2. We play our Great Hall and we play the Resonating Loot. We just hope that they don't have a turn 4 removal or artifacts. They play a tapped land and a Vengeful Blood Witch. If they pass the turn to us, we get to start actually doing some fun stuff. I don't think they're going to play anything with their 1 mana, so there it is. We're going to pay 2 life for this. We'll hold on to this so that we can do it on their turn. And we'll actually hold on to this as well, so we're just going to wait here. Now at this point, we can remove whatever their biggest creature is and remove another creature and create some powerful stuff as well. So let's see what their move is here. I'm going to return the Moonshadow to their hand because I feel like Umbral Caller Zealot is an important part of their combo that they're working on. So we'll return Moonshadow and we'll destroy Umbral Caller Zealot. He's going to try and sacrifice it instead. That's fine. We lose 1 life. He might sacrifice the Blood Witch too. But he's getting 1 damage on me anyways if he doesn't, so. He does go for that. We get a lot of value out of that though, so we are not too upset about it. We only need 2 mana for this, so we can pass and lose that floating mana. We're not too worried about losing it right now. Return all creature cards with value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is where we're going to dig for some kind of removal spell. We definitely want something that can fully remove all those creatures, and a Day of Judgment will do it. None of them can attack this turn, so we're looking pretty safe. They have 45 cards in their deck, which means we need to hit the 2 to the 6 power on Mathemagics to win. So we need 1 more turn and 1 more land. Well, we need 2 turns. We need the turn that we're going to play this land, and then we need another land and 1 more turn to play that other land. They're going to surveil some more to try and do more Raising the Past. They're going to boost their Moonshadow, but they can't attack with it this turn, so we're safe. We can do a couple of things here. I'd like to run the Wisdom of Ages, but it wouldn't win this for us, so I'm just going to do the Day of Judgment. Blow up everything they have. Also our creatures, but we're not here to play creatures. We're here to play spells. Lots of sorceries. We could counter our own spell, but I don't know why we would do that. They're not going to be able to kill us with just these three, so. But he is going to sacrifice all of his creatures, I'm sure. Sacrifices the Moon Shadow for another Surveil and another ping on our health. We should be able to counter anything they do, though. We have 4 mana to use for Out of Air, so I can see it. The win is in our grasp. We definitely win this one finally. Destroy all the creatures. And pass the turn because I want to keep up my mana in case I need it. Plays another Snarling Gorehound. We're not too worried about that on its own. That's all they got. That'll be the game right there. So we've got 7 lands now, so we're going to target them with Mathemagics. Not this one, this one. And we're going to use exactly 6, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Since X is 2, we have to pay 12 to do X equals 6. And then we get the 2 extra for the 2 blue. We target their face. They draw their entire deck. And that'll be the game. We did it! Took us 5 games in a row just to get that one win with this deck, but it has performed better for me on other days. So I will say it's a strong deck. It just had a few bad games in a row there. But you guys got a chance to see quite a few other powerful decks. So not the worst thing in the world. We've got quite a few more deck build videos coming for you guys. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for some more Magic the Gathering content. Throw a like on the video if you had a good time watching me get wrecked 5 times in a row almost. And comment down below and tell me what your favorite deck is at the moment. What are you guys playing the most? I want to know. Other than that, I hope you guys have an awesome day. We will catch you on the next one. Later.